Key member of the Federal Election Commission today rejected the Manhattan District Attorney's indictment of former President Donald Trump as a violation of federal election laws. Correspondent Sarah Williamson has the latest. Sarah.
Well, Katrina, the FEC Commissioner James Traynor disagrees with the indictment of former President Donald Trump and says it doesn't violate federal election laws. The bipartisan Federal Election Commission already launched an investigation into the case back in 2018 into that case and said it was dismissed. Now, speaking to the Washington Examiner, Commissioner Traynor explains how the FEC and Justice Department already considered this case and tossed it. He went on to say that it's not a campaign finance violation and it's not a reporting violation of any kind. He then said further that I don't know how you can get around the evidence that both the DOJ in their investigation and the Federal Election Commission in their ultimate jurisdiction over campaign finance issues, neither of them found there to be any violations whatsoever. I think the jury is going to see that, and they're going to have to rely upon the fact that both the law enforcement experts and the civil experts didn't find any violation of the law here. Now, Commissioner Traynor also making digs on social media, taking to Twitter with a picture of the FEC hearing room, saying this is where the campaign finance violations are tried. And in a statement released by Commissioner Traynor and Commissioner Sean Cooksey back in 2021, they explained that they decided to dismiss the case, citing Michael Cohen's plea deal and the fact that the paperwork in question was done after the election. And it's not obvious as well that this was to influence the election. So it really doesn't fail. It really fails the objective standard of law here. Katrina?
All right, Sarah, thank you. Joining us now to discuss is former New York Congressman Peter King and Democrat strategist Bill Caruso. Peter King, I want to start with you. Your reaction to Sarah's report. Also, do you think this will ever go to trial, of course, this indictment of the former president?
Well, it shouldn't. Now, what's going to happen in New York City, I don't know. I mean, you have a New York City Democratic judge. The appellate courts are primarily Democrat. And I hate to make this a partisan issue, but there's such acrimony and there's such intolerance when it comes to Donald Trump in New York. I would hope they can get a change of venue, get it out of New York City. It doesn't have to go to Republican County. I don't mean that, but just get it out of New York City. I think he'll have a much better chance. Listen, I haven't practiced law in a while, but I never saw this as being any kind of a campaign violation. And the fact that the FEC itself and also the Justice Department and also, the DA's office in New York prior to Bragg, and even early in Bragg's administration, said this was not a violation. Listen, there's so many things, if you want to, you can criticize Donald Trump for, you can praise him for. It should not be adjudicated in a criminal court.
Bill, I've been listening to a lot of lawyers and legal experts, even who are staunch Democrats, say that, you know what, this case really isn't much of a case.
Well, we don't know, and I'm a lawyer, but I will not be your legal expert today. I'm not going to afford. I'll offer my opinion, though. I mean, I'm going to play some devil's advocacy here because I'm not exactly sure that this is the smartest move from a political standpoint or a legal one. I don't agree with the idea, though, that this has been properly dismissed at the FEC. I think the FEC looked at this and said, there's other places looking at this, and we don't have the resources. And then there's commissioners that don't feel as though there may have been something, a law broken. But Alvin Bragg has not shown yet his full hand. And this is where I'm playing some devil's advocate.
But shouldn't he, I'm sorry to interrupt there, but shouldn't he have done that? Wasn't that what the actual indictment again, was about? Really, you have to tell the lawyers what they're actually trying to defend.
Not yet. He's going to have to prove that point. And Katrina, this is where I'm concerned as an American. We are playing with fire here. If he has a smoking gun, he's got to show it soon. And we all may then be eating a lot of crow here and say, you know what, this was the right plan. They've discovered new evidence. There is a crime here, and he had the resources to find it. But if he doesn't, this whole house of cards collapses. And there's bigger issues at stake than just Donald Trump. The entire judicial system and our faith within it lies a lot on whether or not political games are being played here. So we will know soon.
Nan, you're nodding. Go ahead.
Well, I know that to Bill's point, I know part of the discussion that occurred very early on, but then was brought out again this week, had to do with David Pecker, the National Enquirer editor, and whether or not they'd done something called a catch and kill with the story. I think it was with the Stormy Daniels story, and would that be considered, some form of election influence? But I would just say this to that. Well, if that's the case, then it looks as though the entire United States government in some form, the FBI, the DOJ, everybody who was influencing social media, the 50, former, key intelligence officials who said this was Russian disinformation about Hunter Biden's laptop and basically killed that story and silenced that story, will have an awful lot to answer for in terms of election interference.
That's right. And John, one of Trump's potential 2024 rivals, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, has spoken out on the case. Here's what he said.
What we're talking about here is something that he has worked hard his entire life to avoid by the way he conducts his business. No emails, no text messages. He's done all that because I think Roy Cohn taught him to do that, not to have any paper trail. And so this is going to be interesting to see what's in the indictment, what documents they have. I can guarantee you this much. They're not from Donald Trump. I never got an email from him in the 22 years I've known him. Never got a text message from him in the 22 years I've known him. He just doesn't do it.
John.
There are a lot of people like President Trump that don't use email, don't text or anything of that. Well, he might text a little bit, but he's not going to actually text about critical or extremely important matters. So I agree with Governor Christie there. But, going back to what we discussed, I think, the defense has to try to move this case, to Peter King's point, move this case out of the island of Manhattan. Why? Because we know how that jury pool votes. And I don't think it'll be a fair trial. And going back to Caruso's point, the thing is, smoking gun, it's a BB gun. It's not a real gun,
it's a
right?
pop gun.
Because he didn't even cite which laws were broken.
Right. Because he can't, because they're not in his jurisdiction at the very least.
Bill, were you going to say something?
I just was going to say we will see. And I again, guys, I'm sitting here as somebody that's not on board with this. I thought this was a mistake. I don't think that this is the right call, but we will see. And I'm going to, in the interest of keeping an open mind, keep an open mind.
We appreciate that as always, Bill. Peter, do you think there's any chance that this would be moved to, say, Staten Island? I mean, it sounds like a great idea for the former president because, as John pointed out, he can't get a fair trial in New York City. I mean, I think especially as New Yorkers, we know that, whichever side you vote on. Is there even a shot that it would be moved elsewhere?
Yeah, I think there's a shot. Staten Island may be a longer shot because to me that would be ideal for Donald Trump. But even they could just get into an upstate county, which is somewhat neutral, away from the glare of New York City. I know that Donald Trump's glare goes everywhere, but it'd be less so once you get out of Manhattan and maybe get a bit upstate. And getting back to what Bill said, though, I don't expect the indictment to have many more facts, but at least Greg could have listed the federal law or the other law, whatever it was, that he's accusing Donald Trump of violating. All he said was it violated business records law and another one. Well, what is the other one? It's the other one that, in Greg's concept, makes it a felony. You should have at least mentioned the law at the statute.
Perfectly stated, and we're going to leave it there. Peter King, Bill Caruso, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.